Oh, hello. I'm gonna be brutally honest. I have been so f***ing bored of the Premier League over the last couple of seasons. I would say probably the last 5 years, the league has kind of felt like a formality. But something's different this year. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something in the air. But I have been absolutely riveted by this year's summer transfer window. All the reinforcements that the big boys have brought in, it just feels like everyone has gotten their new toys and they're prepared to go to war. And just call it a feeling, but this is the first time in forever that I feel like this season, this could be one of those seasons that go down in the storybooks. We're going to have 3, maybe even 4 teams challenging right till the end. A season where every game, every win, and hold on, this is going to make a couple of Americans cringe right here, but every draw actually fucking matter. A truly One Piece arc worthy season. And I don't know what it is, but I, as a crotchety old sports fan, as a beaten down, mentally unstable American Manchester United fan, I am somehow hyped for the new Premier League season. And I make no delusions that we are not going to be one of these 3 to 4 teams in the fight. More on Manchester United later. But I'm just intrigued by how all the big teams are moving. Liverpool, defending champions. After winning the league last year without bringing in many new faces, they go ahead and splash the cash this summer, arguably winning the transfer window. But with the war chest of new talent that they're bringing in, and a lot of old faces leaving the club, can they get all these new players working? Can they hit the ground running? The former 4 consecutive time champions, Manchester City, and Pep Guardiola were humbled last year. So you know this year, Pep's going to be on his villain arc shit. The boys in powder blue are going to be on an absolute warpath, trying to remind everyone that Liverpool, they were just merely a one-year usurper. And sadly, daddy's back home. Arsenal, after their transfer window, might just have the best roster in Europe. Yeah, I said it, at least on paper. And Chelsea have continued their spending spree, and last time we saw them, they were beating the brakes of the current Champions League winners. And Man United are probably still shit. But we did just sign an athletic freak who can do shit like this. So this season can't be worse than watching Rasmus Højlund. That is the simmering feast, the cornucopia of deliciousness that we are upon. So per usual, let me be your guide. Give you all the ins and outs, who were the big names that made moves in the transfer market, all the tantalizing storylines leading into this season. And by the end of this video, I'll have you primed and ready for what could be one for the ages. So welcome to a clueless, but a hella hyped American's guide to the Premier League 2025-2026 edition. Now, before I begin, I have to address a large $1,000 elephant in the room. On this video a season ago, I made a bet, a $1,000 bet, that Manchester City would win the league. And that didn't happen. So now, it is time to pay the piper. If you want to be eligible to go ahead and win said $1,000, go ahead and follow me on IG at thefatasian. And when this video comes out, the next goal that Benjamin Sesko scores, tune into my story and I'll be doing a 1K giveaway. More details on that at the end of the video. And I'll tell you this, mom didn't raise no bitch. I'm going to be making another bet this year. In fact, it's going to be a $2,000 bet. But once again, more on that later. Let's get past that. Because without further ado, let us begin our guide by talking about still the biggest club in all of England, even though they've been dog shit for a decade. They are the Dallas Cowboys of the Premier League, my beloved Manchester United. To give you a little recap of what happened last year, Manchester United suffered the worst season in their Premier League history, finishing an abysmal 15th, and even worse than that, far worse than that, we gave Tottenham Hotspurs their first trophy in the modern era in the most unwatchable European final in modern history, but after the horror movie that was last season. We fucking cooked this summer. Our new owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, sacrificed the kit man, the lunch lady, and the laundry lady to bring in 3 incredibly sexy transfers. The first was Matthias Cunha, who pretty much single-handedly put Wolves on his back and dragged them out of relegation last year. He is a temperamental Brazilian center forward that can hit the leather off a ball every time he strikes it. And after watching him for only 1 match, I know that inevitably he'll be sent off multiple times this season for crashing out. And I can't help myself, I am already in love with my toxic talismanic king. Then we signed Brian Mbeumo, a proven bald-headed menace of the Premier League that was good for 20 goals last season for Brentford. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, we go ahead and sign the top young striker prospect in the world in Benjamin Sesko. And he is the freakiest of freaks. 6'5", fast as fuck. And when he shoots, he doesn't just have a thunder bastard in his locker. No, he thermonuclear detonates the ball with his foot. Like, some of these shots look sped up, bro. We're gonna have to bring in Oppenheimer to explain the physics on this. And that is just one of the long list of creative player traits this kid has. I've written down first touch of a pedophile, kaiju levels of air dominance, feet as nifty as a ballerina, and all at the age of 22. This kid's ceiling is he could be Zlatan Ibrahimovic with pace. But should push the brakes a little bit on this because he's still a really raw, unfinished product, and probably the main thing that will keep him from reaching his full potential which is possibly the best striker on the planet, is the fact that he plays for Manchester United, who over the last decade has become a graveyard littered with the careers of many brilliant young players. But what actually makes me excited about Slovenian Slenderman is that all of his God-given strengths, they're uncoachable, while all of his weaknesses, they are coachable. And that's what makes him the most tantalizing striker prospect on earth. And fuck it, call me delusional, but I just have a good feeling about this window for United. You know why? Because I can see the vision of the new ownership. Last summer, we go ahead and sign the best young defensive prospect in the world in Lenny Yoro, who's 19 heading into the season. Then this summer, we signed the best young offensive prospect in 22-year-old Benjamin Šeško. And now they're sniffing around the 21-year-old Carlos Baleva, who is arguably the best midfield prospect in the world, to pair along with Kobe Mainoo, who's also only 20 years old. They've rebuilt Carrington to a state-of-the-art training facility, and it's clear that Mr. Radcliffe is building for the future. If you watch my video on every owner in the Premier League, link to that up here, you will know that Jim Ratcliffe's specialty as a billionaire was taking distressed assets and turning them around. And yes, he hasn't been very nice to the longtime staff at Old Trafford, but his penny-pinching ways has allowed him to purchase 3 very exciting players. And this isn't the senseless panic buys of seasons past. There is a direction, there is an ethos, there is a plan actually in place for the players they are bringing in. And listen, this team is still doo-doo in the midfield, and honestly, kind of mid in the back, especially at keeper. But god damn it, will this team be so fun to watch at full sprint. The thought of Benjamin Šeško, Cunha, Mbumo, Amad Diallo, Dorgu, all running at you, flying on the counter. There's no way they don't score a couple of beautiful goals this year. And even if teams decide to sit back in a low block, at your own peril, because then you are giving space to Bruno Fernandes, Benjamin Šeško, and Matthias Cunha, 3 of the best shit pingers in the league. We're going to be fucking Steph Curry from behind the line this year. Now, how often are we actually going to find the back of the net versus the ball flying to the stands and giving some poor kid CTE? I don't care. We're not winning the league this year. We're probably not making top 5. That's not why I'm hyped. I'm hyped because my club, Manchester United, for the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson left, might just fucking be an entertaining football club to watch every Saturday. Look at me, Amron, look at me. Want to keep your job? Make the lads play fun football. That's it. And if this revamped front 3 can string together a couple of magical, sweeping goals, Amron's gonna win a lot of hearts and minds at Old Trafford this year. Editor, clip this so we can replay it when Amron's sacked before Christmas. That's my only goal. That's the only thing Manchester United has to do for me this season, is just play aesthetic, fun to watch football. I just need a little break from the torture chamber, from the waterboarding that was watching Manchester United last season. Speaking of horror seasons, let's talk about Tottenham, who come off one of the most bipolar seasons in Premier League history. They finally got their first trophy in the modern era by winning the Europa League final. They did this while simultaneously finishing 17th in the league, 1 spot above relegation in England. Ange Postecoglou made good on his supernatural ability to win silverware at every single club that he has ever coached at in his 2nd season. He was rewarded for this by immediately being sacked. Yeah, once that parade was over, he was out the door. Their beloved captain, Heung-min Son, Sonny Boy, after finally bringing silverware to the long-tortured fans of North London, said, "My job here is done," and fucked off to LA, which for context is the 2nd largest population of South Koreans anywhere in the world outside of South Korea. And I don't blame him. I've lived there for a little bit. The Korean barbecue there is delightful. You deserve it, Sonny Boy. Enjoy. If I ever see you, soju on me. And instead, they have brought in the uber-talented Kudus and Matthias Tell, the latter being a wonderkin from Bayern Munich. But the biggest addition Tottenham had during the offseason was the appointment of one Thomas Frank, the former Brentford manager, who consistently had them punching above his weight for the 7 seasons that he was at that club. This man is a wily old fox cosplaying as a football manager. I don't think you will find a single pundit or watcher of football that doesn't rate Thomas Frank. And already, just in one summer, they look completely transformed. This team is well drilled, really well organized. They look like an actual football team. Shocker. And I think everyone is really excited and a little bit scared to see what he can do with an actual budget. And since we're talking about clubs that no one really gives a shit about, let's do a quick lightning round for teams that Americans don't know but should know at least a little bit going into this season. Villa are probably going to finish somewhere between 4th and 6th again, with basically the same roster that they had last year because their manager, Unai Emery, is a low-tier god. Brighton Hove Albion have become the new talent factory of England. They're pretty much a nothing club until their new owner came in and installed his sports betting software that made him a billionaire and converted it to fit his scouting program. And that has resulted in them basically printing money every single summer, as seemingly they sell 1 or 2 players every single summer for around $100 million.
This motherfucker don't miss.
So if you ever wonder what a club would look like if it was run by AI, look no further than the Seagulls. And then Newcastle, who were recently bought by the Saudis, ended last season about as well as they could have hoped, ending a 70-year trophy drought, getting themselves into Champions League, and turning Alexander Isak into arguably the best striker in the Premier League, at least for last season, with the lasting image at the end of the season being Alexander Isak kissing the badge. And then they spent the whole entire summer being linked with like 7 different players, only to have every single one of them reject them and go to a different team. Like, damn, I thought Arsenal was being into cucked, but apparently the Saudis are into NTR levels of cuckoldry. Kids don't look that up. And then, to make things somehow even worse, now Alexander Isak has made it very clear that his time at Newcastle is done. He's refusing to train, and he will not do a single thing for the club until he gets his move to Liverpool. From kissing the badge at the end of the season to then refusing to train with that same team is nasty work. Nasty. So sorry, Newcastle fans. Life comes at you fast. But okay, enough of lighting around. Back to the big boys. And we'll start up with yet another American-owned football club in Chelsea. Now, Chelsea were surprise title contenders last season for about 2 weeks, and then their form dropped off a cliff, which coincided with Nicholas Jackson getting injured. So this summer, they continued to spend big and brought in reinforcements in the form of the uber-reliable Liam Delap and the more mouth-watering talent of João Pedro of Brighton. João Pedro is yet another exciting young Brazilian attacking prospect that comes newly minted from the aforementioned Brighton Talent Factory. And what makes him unique is that he's kind of a creative striker hybrid. His eye for the killer pass, especially going full speed, is world-class, and he has a knack for scoring some absolutely ridiculous goals. His weakness is that he kind of doesn't score the easy goals a lot of the time, so he's got a little bit of Nicholas Jackson in him, but he showed extremely well during the Club World Cup, where Chelsea absolutely dismantled the defending Champions League champions in PSG. They won the whole damn thing, and more importantly, it gave us this image, which looks like it was generated by AI. I am 100% sure that Cole Palmer and Donald Trump have no clue who each other are. And yes, I'ma say it, I'm a Manchester United fan, but still, my favorite player to watch in all the Premier League is Cole Palmer. If champagne football could be embodied by a young, autistic Englishman, it would be Cole Palmer. He is just the classiest player in all of England. He's a delight to watch. And pretty much all the transfers that Chelsea bought this year are to support this beautiful, beautiful mouth breather. They seem, annoyingly, to have appointed the right man in Maresca. And I think, sadly, the banter era at Chelsea is over in a shockingly short amount of time. And no one's really talking about this, but maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but what if this was the plan all along? The master plan by Dodgers part owner Todd Roly-Boley is to just come in, spend $1.6 billion, and just churn. Just keep on churn through talent, through managerial talent and player talent. Whoever's the new hotness, come on in. Don't work out? Goodbye. On your way. Because ever since Todd's come in, Chelsea has had a higher turnover rate than an Amazon warehouse. And yeah, he has spent over $1.6 billion since he's come in, but he's gotten Chelsea back in the top 4 and are considered a dark horse to win the league this year. And all in a fraction of a time compared to the rebuild of Manchester United, which is still ongoing. So, begrudgingly, maybe accidentally, I think we should give Todd Bowley some credit. God, that doesn't feel right to say. But yeah, congrats, Chelsea. You're probably a shoo-in for top 4. But you're not going to win the league. You still need a couple of pieces. But maybe a Champions League run. You guys are always good at that. All right. Now, let's have a bit more fun. Let's talk about Cucklejob FC. Of course, I'm talking about the 3 times runners-up of the Premier League, Arsenal. Now, other teams might have spent more money, but I think Arsenal had the most important transfer window of any team in the Premier League this last summer. And that's because they bought in the final missing piece to the Arteta puzzle. Something they've been screaming out for the past 3 years, but for curious reasons never brought one in. But now I think they found it. And they finally have a true striker. And his name is Victor Gyökeres, who scored an absurd 50 goals in Portugal last season. And yes, while some may say that Portugal is a farmers league, I think he's the real deal. He's not just a striker. He's a freight train that scores goals. He's got that Holland in him where he can basically carry a defender on his shoulder like he's his little brother, run 20 yards into the box, shoot, and score with a plum. And when he does score, his goal celebration farms harder than Piccolo looking off into the distance. Then they go and grab the best number 6 in the world, not named Rodri. Everyone and their mama wanted Zubimendi, but Arteta used his Basque connections to go ahead and snag him for Arsenal. They didn't even really need him, but the fact that they kept him away from a lot of the Premier League rivals is huge. Let I remind everyone that last season they already were the best defensive record in the league. Then you go ahead and shore up other parts of the roster with depth and the signs of Noni Madueke, Kepa Arrizalaga, I can't. I'm just going to say Kepa. And the Viking giant Norgard to go ahead and close out games. And all of a sudden, I'm going to say it. This is the best roster in Europe, at least on paper. Go ahead, leave it in the comment section. Flame me. Name a more talented roster in Europe right now. I'll wait. What are you going to say? Real Madrid? You mean the team Arsenal ran off the pitch twice last season? Maybe Liverpool starting 11? If they get Alexander Isak, I'll listen to the argument. But I'm taking Arsenal's midfield and defense over Liverpool. Odegaard, Declan Rice, Zubamendi. Come on. I mean, McAllister, Wurtz, and Gravenberch, also really nasty, but Declan Rice, Zubamendi, and Odegaard, I'm just taking those three. And I just like that Arsenal's core has been together for longer. They have less new pieces to get settled in. And if Victor Gyökeres can work, if he could bag in 16 to 18 goals for him in the league, I think this is the season that the Cucks finally become a bull. Because there's no more excuses, all right? There's no more depth issues. They got the striker. So barring injuries and random red card madness that seem to love Arsenal, I think they can win the league. In fact, honestly, they should win the league. Because that is the only option for Arteta this season. It's that, or you become this generation's Tottenham. A collection of amazing players with a completely empty trophy cabinet. So good luck, Arsenal. No pressure. And now they just hijacked a fucking deal for Eze, who is a sensational, beautiful player. Arguably the best left winger in the league, if not one of the best left wingers in the world. Yeah. Zero excuses. Absolutely none. You don't win the league this year, you're forever cuckold-jobbed FC. Now, let's talk about the fallen and somewhat forgotten giants of the Premier League. Of course, I'm talking about Manchester City, and as the evil empire does, no matter the L's, no matter the damage taken, no matter the humiliation, they'll just keep on rebuilding the goddamn Death Star. They already started last January when they brought in Marmoush, who looks like a baby Egyptian god card in waiting. Then this summer, Pep was ruthless, saying farewell to two over-the-hill club legends in Kevin De Bruyne and Kyle Walker. They, of course, will be hard to replace, but here's the thing about Manchester City over the last 2 decades of dominance. They have had an uncanny ability to replace their legends with a future legend. Case in point, when David Silva left the club, in steps Kevin De Bruyne. When Fernandinho left the club, in steps Rodri. When Sergio Aguero left the club, in steps Erling Haaland. And now that KDB has made his exit, in steps to Johnny Reinders, who will inevitably leave them in assists for the next decade. So everyone and your fantasy team, go ahead and pick them up this week. And they didn't even spend big. They got cheap, nice deals on players like Ant Nori, Ryan Cherky. Half the Premier League wanted him, only 35 mil. And it seems like Ederson's on his way out, so they brought in James Trafford before the news broke that Donnarumma, the player voted best goalkeeper in the world last year, was shockingly not in PSG's plans for the upcoming season. What the fuck happened there? We'll probably learn about that in a book in 10 to 15 years. But apparently Pep and Donnarumma have been huge admirers of each other for a very long time. And it seems like that deal's gonna be done on the cheap. So as I said, evil is never truly defeated. It just reinvents itself. And often in football, we are too reactionary. I see a lot of people talking shit as if Manchester City didn't win 6 out of the last 8 Premier Leagues, that they aren't coached by the greatest club manager in history, that they don't still have the best striker on the planet, that they aren't eventually going to get the current Ballon d'Or winner back into this roster sooner than later. I had to break it to everybody, but Manchester City are going to be back, and the rest of the league should be absolutely terrified. Pep has a point to prove, and he will be absolutely ruthless. He did not enjoy his time last year. You could see how much it affected him. He heard all the slander on his name, and he's going to remind everyone who the fuck they are. So don't be surprised come the end of the season with the ribbons on that Premier League trophy are powder blue for the 7th time in 9 seasons. And thus, I will move on to the final team I'm going to talk about. Save the best for last, the defending champions, Liverpool. And this is very much not the same team from last year. Arne Slot has gone for his Liverpool 2.0, and they'll be favorites. But I just have a few questions, leading into Arne Slot's sophomore season. First things first, I'm going to show my respect. Rest in peace to Andre Silva, Diego Jota. What happened to them was a terrible tragedy, and the whole sport will miss them. But from a purely objective standpoint, you're losing Jota. You sell Luis Diaz. You sell Trent Alexander-Arnold. That is so many goals, so much flexibility, so much control in the game, so much dynamism that is leaving your club. But counterpoint, they went absolutely bonkers in the transfer market. They bring in Hugo Ekitike, who looks to be yet another brilliant player. Extremely tall, but silky smooth, glides around the pitch, links up with players effortlessly. He reminds me of a tall Roberto Firmino, which is terrifying as a Man United fan. Just someone who always makes the right decision. Just a player who has a preternatural feel for the game. And then they go ahead and pluck Jeremy Frimpong and Florian Wirtz, 2 key pieces in an invincible Leverkusen side from just a season ago. And Frimpong, they basically bought Sonic the Hedgehog as their Trent replacement. To say this man is rapid is an understatement. This man absolutely flies up and down that wing. Dynamic on the counter, always got a goal in him. And then in Florian Wirtz, he looks to be special. He's arguably the best player in the Bundesliga for the last couple of seasons, and at the age of 22, he's the future of the German national side. His game can be described as devilishly clever. He ran the show at Leverkusen, and it's probably the most hyped cam coming out of Germany since Mesut Ozil. Then they go ahead and grab Milos Kirkus, who was one of the best left backs in the league last year. He's probably a long-term replacement for Andrew Robinson. And more likely than not, it hasn't happened officially, but I'm gonna bet my money that when the transfer window closes, Alexander Isak will be a Liverpool player this season. This is the type of breed they speak about in the Bible. Many feel like this league is a foregone conclusion. But if I could just hit pause really quick on giving Liverpool the trophy right now and just be, a little bit of a hater as a Man United fan, all I'm saying is that is a lot of new talent, a lot of young new talent you're introducing to your team. And with Arsenal improving, with Manchester City improving, you don't really have the luxury to allow these players to settle in. They have to hit the ground running. And let's be honest, they kind of defaulted into a title win last year. Arne Slot picked the 1 year in a decade that Manchester City wasn't good. Arsenal and Chelsea weren't ready for a title race. But that is not the case this year. Pep seems like he's rebuilt the Death Star. They're going to be monsters. Arsenal might have the best roster in all of Europe. And Chelsea going to do their dark horse thing. And that is why I am so fucking hyped for this season. I truly feel we'll actually have an exciting 3 to 4-way battle for the title this year. So many different Premier League teams have improved, and I'm not just talking about the big boys. A lot of the mid-table teams have gotten great. Manchester United, Tottenham might be competitive again, and what that will result in over the course of the season is that every single weekend we're going to have kaiju-level battles. I'm talking Godzilla versus Kong matchups every single week, and when every point matters. With so many new moving parts, so many new faces and new places, I have no fucking idea who's going to take it, which is why I am more hyped for this season in particular than any other season of the past decade. And that's also why, gonna bring it all back, I'm doubling down on my bets, baby. Last year, I bet $1,000 that Manchester City would win the league. Not doing that again. Not that confident in it. But now, I'm gonna use the Fat Asian curse and turn it onto 2 new targets. So this year, I'm betting 2K, but over 2 bets. My first $1,000 bet is that Manchester United will not make top 5. So if they do make top 5, I'll be giving away $1,000. And the second bet that I'm putting the Fat Asian curse on is that Arsenal will not win the league. If Arsenal win the league, I will be giving away another $1,000. And as for the details on my current $1,000 giveaway, as I said before, follow me on IG at thefatasianofficial. And when this video drops, the moment this video drops, the next time Benjamin Sesko scores a goal for Manchester United, I will post on my story. I will post a question box. And then everybody who sees that question box, go ahead and answer 1,000. Either the word 1,000, the number 1,000, just 1,000 in some form. It'll be open for 24 hours, and I'll choose one of you randomly out of that group to receive $1,000 from me. Preface this by saying you need to be at least 18 years of age and have a working PayPal. But yeah, that's going to be it for me for my Prem Guide for the 2025-2026 season. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, go ahead, take your hard erect nipples, smush into the like button right now. I'd like to go ahead and thank my editor Alex for editing this video. If you'd like to go ahead and hire him, he's fantastic, by the way. Links to connect with him are in the description down below. And of course, I'd like to thank all of my patrons keeping me alive and well during these troubling times. Thank you to my 2 newest patrons, Cal Howe and Jason Eatman. And of course, shout out to all the OGs, Elm, Robert Matai, Peter Barr, Neonya Barr, Cal Stockton, Michael Sense, Isaac Martinez Duran, Higham, Miles Bard, Nanners Piddlesmith, The Fat Austrian, Valente Vasquez, Mo Vidocq, and of course, the one and only double goat, Sandra Jeremy. Love all you guys. Mwah. And yeah, I know I've been away during the summer for a while, just kind of recollecting my mental health, but I feel recharged, and I'm excited for this upcoming season. And I promise you this, there's more Fat Asian content for you to enjoy in the season to come. But yeah, until next time, take care of yourselves and stay thick.